The transfer business in Uganda might be done and dusted, but the real business is far from done. On the show tonight, we host a CAF coaches instructor, former KCCA FC captain, and also one of the greats still for KCCA Football Club. Good evening. My name is Magero Moses Mwanje. You and I are definitely walking this journey together. Now to start it off, like I told you, we have a guest. It's been a while since we had a guest on the KCCA FC TV show. This one, we have a former captain of KCCA FC, just like I told you, and also one of the greats of KCCA Football Club, and also a CAF coaches instructor. He's none other than Mujib Kasule, a person who has been around the game for quite some time, a lover of the game, and also a real football person, just to put it in that kind of context. It's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Mujib Kasule, on the show.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
It's your first time, I should say.
Yes, it is. Surprisingly.
It's very surprising. One of the greats of the football club. This is season 3, episode 8, and he's coming here for the first time. My bad, guys. I apologize. But going straight into it, Mr. Mujib Kasule, the transfer business is done for KCCA FC and also Uganda. That is ahead of the season 2021-2022. So much has happened. It's been about 3 months of transfer business. And just to tell you how the transfer business for KCCA was like, the club signed 11 players, promoted 2 players from the soccer academy, and 12 players left the football club, some on mutual consent, some ran down their contracts, and others were sold to other football clubs. Just to tell you, the players that have been able to join KCCA FC, the 11 players, Brian Majwega joined from URA Football Club. Just like you see those shots, my producer should be able to show you those. And then Brian Kayanja joined from UPDF Football Club. Emmanuel Alex Waswa, former captain SC Villa, also joined KCCA FC. Geoffrey Waswa also joined from SC Villa. Usama Arafat joined from Kajansi United. Innocent Esimu Wafula joined from Mbara City. Then Yasa Mugera joined from Kenema of Ethiopia. Mato Rogers joined from Proline Football Club. Derrick Ochan, a goalkeeper, joined from Police Football Club. Benjamin Ochan, a goalkeeper, also joined from AFC Leopards. And then Davis Kasiri, a forward, joined from UPDA Football Club. Mujib, will first talk about the guys that have come into the football club. If you're to give your take about KCCFC's transfer business, what would it be like?
I think they've gone out to do the business that they needed to do. Remember, this particular transfer period for KCC was formed by the departure of the former coach, and in came another coach. When coaches change, every coach has a philosophy, has a way of playing. Never mind that Molly was with Mike, but I know both of them, they are quite different. Of course, Molly was following the philosophy of Coach Mike as an assistant, but now he's going to rubber stamp his own authority on the team. Then also, I felt that last season KCC's performance was so dependent on the way they did their transfer business the other year. They released all the senior players and replaced them with only youngsters. And as we know, youngsters, however good they are, if they are left alone, they can find it difficult, as we experienced last season with KCC.
Sure.
So I think they needed to balance the team. Coach Imole needed to balance the team in terms of experience and the youngsters. Okay. And you can see in the transfers that that's what they were trying to do.
Okay.
Many signings are coming, which is a culture for Ugandan clubs. They tend to love to sign so many players and release so many players every season, which from a coaching perspective needs to change, especially for established clubs like KCC is. However, I think they've done great business in this transfer window. I see they have assembled a club, assembled a team that is going to compete right away, because the other 5 seasons KCC was dominant.
Yep.
But last season they went into 4th position and they don't want to be there. So they will definitely want to compete and try to go for the double, and they've done that through the transfer.
Well, Mujib, you say probably should be a very good one for KCCFC ahead of the 2021-2022 season. We'll start with the goalkeeping department. The club captain, Charles Lukwago, left, joined St. George of Ethiopia. And in came two goalkeepers, that is Derek Ochan coming in from Police Football Club, a graduate of also the FUFA Juniors League, and also Benjamin Ochan returning for his third stint at KCCA FC, previously being around in 2008 and then coming back in 2015 to 2018, and this should be third stint. And then also another keeper was sold to Bright Stars, that is in Matovu Hassan, and Mwerusi Ali remains. So those are the three goalkeepers. We'll start with the goalkeeping department at KCCA FC. Do you think probably these were the right acquisitions, and probably what is your take on the guys that came in?
Of course, after losing the captain Charles Lukwago, national team, bedrock of the team for the past so many seasons, and if you want to compete, you don't want to play around with that position, because now we have seen the world over, a good goalkeeper wins you championships. So they needed to replace Lukwago with what we call like for like, in terms of experience, in terms of talent, somebody who knows the club. So I think KCC did very well. I think they sold Lukwago and brought in Benjamin Ochan, which is good business, because I believe they made money, saved money, bought another one. And Ochan, for me, is going to walk straight into this team, not only as the first choice goalkeeper, but as the leader of the team. And now we are beginning to see now experience that they lacked last season. For Derek Ochan, for me, I was a bit surprised that they let Hassan go, because they had nurtured him very well. I remember loaning him to Proline, and he did wonderfully well. Played matches on the continent, he got experience. I think the mistake was to bring him back as a second choice. They should have continued to let him stay on a loan until he was ready to come in as first choice. And I think that's where he stumbled a bit in terms of his growth. But in Derek Ochan, they have another upcoming youngster, very, very audacious, very brave, somebody that you look at to be number one after Ochan eventually departs. Then also Mwerusi, also another one who has been at the club for a long time. For me, he seems to be ready, if it was not for the pressures of KCC, but Mwerusi can play in any other mid-table teams as a first choice keeper and comfortable, because he has shown every time he's been given an opportunity that he will eventually be ready. So for me, I think the department is safe. Even when Ochan gets an injury, you are not so worried, because the other two deputies are as able as he could be. So
should we say Ali and Ochan, that is Derek, should be able to give Benjamin a run for his money? Should we say?
Yes, he will. He knows that he's an experienced goalkeeper, but behind him there are two budding youngsters who are trying to fight for his position. So they are going to give him very good training. They are going to give him very good competition. But the club doesn't have to worry if Ochan got injured. You know, there are goalkeeper departments where if the first choice gets injured, everybody gets worried. True. But with these two deputies, anyone can come in to replace Ochan on any given day, and he does well.
Just to tell you, Benjamin Ochan signed for KCCA FC, that is 2 years, and then Derek Ochan signed 3 years. So maybe if Ochan is able to, Benjamin is able to maybe play out his 2 years, that's if he's not able to continue at the football club. You know, just like Mujib says, we have budding youngsters in Derek Ochan and Mwerusi Ali. We'll go straight to the defense, that is the defense department of the football club. Philberto Benchan leaves the football club, Hassan Musana, and also a youngster in Samuel Kato, and also another one in Aliro Moses, and Kafumbe Joseph, because they've also been playing in the defense department. And in comes Innocent Esimu Wafula, just played his debut for the Uganda Cranes team, and also Brian Majwega, and a very good centre-back in Geoffrey Waswa. What do you say about the transfer business in terms of defense at the club?
KCC's biggest problem last season for me, I think, was the defense. And for me, the problem is most of their centre-backs, all of their centre-backs are sweepers in the coaching language, or the ones we call the number fives.
The number 5.
And they are very similar. If you see Musa Ramadan, he's the number 5. If you see Magambo, he's the number 5. If you see Revita, he's the number 5. KCC struggled in the right back position with Wafula coming in. I think he's very, very solid. Although I still liked Aliro. I liked him a lot because he's adventurous, he's a youngster, he was still growing in my view. But I think solidity is what forced Coach Mole to bring in somebody more solid. And in Wafula, they have done that.
Okay.
Of course, Kafumbe was always going to find it difficult. The pressures and everything. Achai had done a great job. Even Musana was doing well. But the problem for me still is in the center of the back.
Okay.
Geoffrey Waswa, wonderful player, and he's going to give a lot of value because he can even play in different positions, very good with the set pieces, so he can add to the goals, but as well as shut out. They still have a problem of a man marker.
Okay. The number 4.
The number 4, the one we call the number 4, because Hassan Waswa is also, Geoffrey Waswa is also a number 5. Okay. Revita number 5, Ramadan number 5, Magambo number 5. So in those games where you are facing a big center forward, you know, who needs to be marked by a strong center back, I don't see KCC having somebody like that. And once they face a very aggressive team, like we saw in the Sekafa, when they played Azam, you know, they were bounded off the ball with a lot of ease. However, the others are pretty solid. It's a more solid defense than they had last season. I don't know how they will cope with the 2 center backs, both of them being number 5. For me, I think that's the only missing link. But overall, I think they have strengthened the defense with a very good goalkeeper behind that line. Okay.
Then the available number 5s, just like you mentioned, there's Dennis Iguma, there is Musa Ramadan, there is Geoffrey Waswa and John Revita. Who do you think probably, and Peter Magambo, there are 5 guys, who do you think, in case they were to play one as a number 4, can make it a perfect number 4, a makeshift number 4?
Makeshift number 4, and for me, I see Musa Ramadan to partner Geoffrey Waswa.
Do you think he can go into the...
Yes, because he's young but very tough, although he can be erratic. But of course, that will get out of him with the growth. So for me, I think he's more fitted to play alongside Geoffrey Waswa because Revita is that natural number 5. With his experience, yes, but with the injury problems, I don't think he will, by the time the season starts, will be at his best again. Magambo playing against Geoffrey Waswa, it could work, but if you ask Magambo to be the man marker, there is a problem. If you ask Geoffrey Waswa to be a man marker, for me, I still see as a problem. And if you compare with the competitors, all of them have that number 4. URA has Rakojo. Vipers has Mulondo, Express has Lumu, and even Juku himself. And that's how they coped, you see. So for me, I think that's the only problem. But out of those 4 center backs, I think the coach will work towards having a pair that will work for him. But for me, that's the only trick that I see missing.
The number 4. Well, we will go straight to the midfielders, and out went players like Kezron Chizito, Bright Anukani, who had signed a 1-year loan period for KCCA FC. That was not renewed or furthered. And then Steven Serrada sold to New York Red Bull. And then Juma Balinya also agreeing with the football club to mutually terminate his contract. Then in came midfielders like Rogers Mato, who is also a versatile player. I should say Yasa Mugera, a very experienced player coming in that football club, and also Emmanuel Waswa, and also Brian Majwega, who can play as a defender and also as a midfielder. The midfield situation as we wind up the first segment.
Midfield is going to be a bit stronger than it was last season. Last season they were very light. Very good when they had the ball, extremely weak without the ball, because you had Kezron alongside the youngster in Ashraf Mugume, then Giftali, Brighton Kani, all of them very good going forward, but when they lose the ball, they were not doing so great. So teams were able to go through them and attack. So now he's brought finesse in the midfield, solidity, and a bit of creativity, because Emmanuel Wasa can do the defensive work. Already you have Dennis Guma, who I think will be employed there as well. The creativity can still come from Yasa Mugerwa and Gift Ali. Yasa Mugerwa can go forward, can create, can shoot, can score goals, but at the same time, defensively, he can be aggressive. So for me, I think he has balanced it out to play the way I think coach wants to play. So the midfield, I think, is going to be very solid, and it has to be that to help the defense. So I don't see a problem with what he has signed. I only see a midfield that can compete quite favorably.
Talk about the ball players, that is in Mugume Ashraf, Usama Arafat, the guy coming in from Masaza, just been the MVP for that one. And also, just like I said, Mugume Ashraf, Usama Arafat, and Mato Rogers, very fantastic player for me, I should say. I've been able to look at him in the pre-season, and he's very explosive.
Yes, Mato Rogers is a typical Coach Mole kind of player. Coach Mole wants players to work hard. And sometimes the modern game is now thriving on players that are direct, and that is Mato for you. He's a tireless worker. He runs from the first minute to the last minute and is very direct, so he takes the team forward. The young man who has been in Kajansi, the left winger,
Usama Arafat, brother to Watenga.
Watenga's brother. I am never so excited with clubs that are so big like KCC to sign a player directly from Masaza level to the Premier League. I still have a problem with that because naturally it can't work. The levels are so big, huge. The difference of levels. However, he's an extremely potential product for KCC in the years to come because he's very good on the ball, he's very enterprising, he's left-footed, we know how little those can be. I am not so sure, but if he has a big heart, he can cope at this level. But still on that left-hand side, KCC has Majwega. Remember, they have even Abat Achai, who can also play.
And the young
yes. So you think that they are well covered as opposed to last season where the options were very limited.
Oh, fantastic. We still have our guest on the show, Mujib Kasule, CAF coaches instructor, former KCCA FC captain, and also one of the greats that is for KCCA Football Club. We'll be coming back for the second segment, and still to discuss is the KCCA FC transfer business. All this after the break. Now, welcome back from that break. We still have CAF coaches instructor, former KCCA FC captain, and also one of the greats that is for KCCA Football Club, Mr. Mujib Kasule. And we're talking the transfer business for KCCA FC Football Club. Mr. Mujib, the forwards at KCCA FC, everyone that was playing in the forward department last season remained. That is the core. In Charles Rwanga, top scorer for KCCA FC with 12 goals last season. And then you have Samuel Senyonjo, who scored 11 goals for last season. You have Aheebwa Brian, who scored 10 goals, played very few games compared to the others, and Sadat Adaku also scored 10 goals, also missed most of the first part of the season because of licensing issues. And then in comes two other forwards who are joining the four, that is Brian Kayanja and Davis Kasiri, all from UPDF Football Club. You have 6 forwards who are all jostling for about 2 positions on the starting lineup. What do you have to say about the forwards that came in?
Of course, the KCC had one of the most lethal striking force last season. Very dynamic, but they lacked one aspect, and that's the size and the aggressiveness. They are all short men, very speedy, and they thrived on movements to score goals. Now, when it gets tough and you're playing against a mean defense, you are a very big guys. They found it difficult. So I think Coach Mole has gone for size, such that he can beef up an already exciting striking force, because Kasile gives you that size, gives you the stability of holding the ball up front and let everybody else join in. Kayanja Brian, the same, very aggressive, very energetic, very powerful. There are matches when you need that as against the movement, because when you go away to those very difficult places, to go to Mbarara City, you've gone to Jinja, you've gone to Arua, you need that strength. So they now have a complete package from what you expect from strikers. And for me, the fight for places in the striking force is going to force the coach not to play only 2 strikers, but maybe 3, because they are all very good. If they are all available and fit, he will be spoiled for choice. But that's a headache a coach wants when you have very good players and doing well. And also now the competition between them is going to be huge, because these youngsters have been scoring goals. Now a senior Kasile comes in and Brian Kanya comes in. They have come in to compete, not only to bring the size, but also to bring the goals. So for me, I think very balanced in terms of what to expect, but at the same time, it's going to create competition. that will give KCC an edge over so many teams.
An edge over so very many teams. Do you think the competition breaks some of the youngsters? Because you have the four that were there last season, most of them are youngsters. Ruanga just came in from the Juniors League. I think this should be his second season or third season in the senior category. And then you have Sadata Naku, you have Samson Nyonjo, and maybe Brian Aheebwa, who has been around for some time. But then, do you think the competition breaks them or it helps them probably become better?
Competition should normally help players get better, but some players' mentality can be weak. And if a player is mentally weak, competition can break him down. This is where the coaching staff can really be able to help such players. But those players, I see they have very big shoulders. They can handle themselves. The only problem KCC has had in the striking force are injuries. Because Anaku plays 3 matches and he's out. Then Aheebwa last time, out for a very long period of time due to illness. And that affects the team. But I think Anaku has a big head on very huge shoulders. He can handle the pressure. And he has been there with the pressure, with the Mike Mutiabas, you know, those other good strikers. And he coped well. If they can keep him fit, I think the competition will be even much better. And for me, my worry is not the youngsters. My worry are the new guys that have come in.
They've got to work.
Exactly, they have to work. Yeah. They have to be mentally strong to prove that they are better than these youngsters they found, especially Kasule. If he can focus, because he's not been known to be a player that focuses. Okay. He plays 6 months here, he's off. When he's paid the salary, he disappears. Okay. Very brilliant talent, size, goal scorer, but the mentality now is what he needs to work on. If the club helps him and he concentrates as well, then for me, I think they will all be in for the challenge of fighting for this position.
Well, in for the challenge. Now, Mujib Kasule, if you were Mole Biekwaso and you were to pick your 2 or 3 starters out of the 6 forwards that we've just mentioned, Brian Kayanja, Brian Aheebwa, Sadata Naku, Samson Nyonjo, Davis Kasule, and that should be it. And Charles Ruanga, 6. Who should be those 2 or 3?
You know, as a coach, you can't wish. You can only choose them according to the way they train.
According to the way they train.
Yes, but for me, I think coach will choose them according to the opponent in front of him.
Okay.
There are matches where he will go and he needs a big center forward, and you will see Kasule starting. Anaku, for me, if he's fit, he's one of the 3 any day.
He should be in there.
Yes. Then Aheebwa also, depending on what kind of game he has ahead of him. But I envisage a striking starting force of Brian Aheebwa, Kasule, and Anaku. Then with 3 able substitutes again. But that we can say here in studio, but it depends on how they are going to train, because coach will eventually choose according to merit.
Well, it's different from what exactly happens on the training ground. So away from the guys that were bought by the football club or who signed for the football club, just like it has been a norm, and you will bear me witness on this, even the time when you played for the football club, the club, season in, season out, has always been promoting players. That is from the soccer academy to the senior side. It's been about 2 years since we had any active football that is in the FUFA Juniors League. But at KCCA FC, the youngsters were kept together. That is the guys that had been in that team at the time when the pandemic happened. So 2 of those youngsters, 17 years of age, both of them, and also part of that under-17 Uganda team that just won the Sekafa in Rwanda last year in December. So Mwanje Elvis Eddie, a midfielder, can play as a defensive midfielder, central midfielder, and also an attacking midfielder, and also a left back who can also play as a wing back in Ibrahim Juma, also the captain of the under-17 team, promoted to the senior team. What do you have to say about the norm of promoting the youngsters? You've said what probably could have hit KCCA FC last season. There were very many youngsters. And then some have been released, some have mutually agreed to leave, 2 have come in. What do you have to say about the norm of promoting players?
Aside it being a norm and the culture for the club, the decision to promote young players should be based on the football, not on sentiments, not on purely culture. Because once you do it that way, you can disadvantage these youngsters in terms of their growth. Personally, I don't think it was time to promote these youngsters to the senior team. First, when I see the squad, I don't see both of these players breaking into the team because the competition is so fierce. Secondly, they have not played football for the last 2 seasons. Yet, the talent is not questionable. So for me, I would rather these boys would have been sent out on loan, even if it's a regional club or a big league club, so that they have regular football. But bringing them in the senior team and leaving them there to sit on the bench and to only train without competition, personally, my opinion is that it will not help them. However, I understand we have a regulation challenge.
Yeah, if you want to
if you loan any player out, he is counted on the players you've signed for that season.
True.
And if you want 30 players and you loan out 5, that means you remain with 25. Okay. For me, it's a bizarre regulation that FIFA has to revisit. True. For the good of clubs and the players themselves. So I understand why KCC is forced to keep these players, because when you loan them out, you are almost saying you're giving them away and you have invested in them. So you'd rather keep hold on them. Yeah. And for me, that is where the problem is. I understand it's not the KCC problem, but it is not going to help the boys. That's my opinion.
Mujib, I don't think, okay, maybe to just be different from what exactly you think, because you have got your own opinion. In Mole Biekwaso's probably defense, I don't think these youngsters are coming in to start at KCCA FC.
Yeah, I understand.
But probably to have some playing time. And also you talked about the regulation that probably could have led to their coming in. But then there's one I'm quite interested in, the left back, that is Juma Ibrahim, captain with the under-17. He's been knocking on the door, that is for the KCCA FC senior team, for about 2 years. At the time when Musa Ramadan, Kato, all those guys were promoted, we felt that was the time, but he's also not been managed quite well. That is probably his personal managers. He's a guy who would sometimes probably disappear, but then he seems to have focused and he's back. For me, I feel that one gives a lot of options on the left side. That is in a guy like Achai Habat and also Brian Majwega, because you don't have very many options there in case Achai gets injured. Either maybe Majwega going back to the left back, but then what happens to the other left side? So I feel that one is knocking. With Mwanji Elvis, I know he's a very, just like budding youngster, so much competition in the midfield, but maybe, who knows? It's going to be tough for them.
They're exciting. Like I said, their talent is unquestionable. Their talent is unquestionable. But for me, Juma is not going to be first choice. Yeah. It's not going to be second choice. True. You see, and going forward, it's going to be difficult when they are competing on the front of winning the double to bring in the youngster. I know how Coach Mole thinks. He likes youngsters, but there's going to be a huge pressure because the club is trying to come from 4th position into winning the double again. So they are going to be pressure matches, all of them. And you don't want to pray for your 2 starters to be injured such that the youngster plays. Sure. For me, I would rather send him out there, gain that experience. He comes back because he's a future starter for KCC. So prepare him to be that. Yeah. And how do you prepare him? By having him play week in, week out at a club that will allow him to do that. Okay.
Well, that is a summary of the transfer business in and a few that left. But then we'll talk about the guys that left. 12 players leaving the football club. Moses Kalanzi, end of contract. Kezron Chisto ran out his contract. Philberto Benchan ran out his contract. Steven Serrada sold to New York Red Bulls, that is in the US. Hassan Matovo sold to Bright Stars Football Club. Joseph Kafumbe mutually agreed with the club to terminate. Juma Balinya the same. Brighton Ukani, end of contract. Moses Aliro agreed with the club to terminate. Kato Samuel the same. Hassan Musana also agreed with the club to terminate. And Charles Lukwago sold to St. George of Ethiopia. Of the 12, who do you think the club will miss most?
Lukwago. Definitely Lukwago.
Why?
Because he's been the bedrock of this club, of this team. Very experienced. I know he made a couple of mistakes, but besides that, he's been the one keeping the club safe. The club is in safe hands when Lukwago was playing. He was a captain and he was a leader. If you watch the way KCC played, he was actually coaching. And every coach needs that player on the team who can organize the players, and Lukwago was doing that. Fortunately for KCC, they have brought in somebody who's able, who's even senior to Lukwago, who can replace him ably in that sense. But you know, you can never replace good players. You can only get better or good ones that come in, but it's very difficult to replace him. So I think they will surely miss him.
And then the youngster, Steven Serada, you felt...
Steven Serada, in my view, he had stagnated.
Okay.
He had stagnated. He did not know, even the club didn't seem to know where exactly he plays and where exactly can be valuable to the team. Attacking midfielder or striker. So in the years he's been around, he neither created goals nor scored them. And for me, that shows that there was something wrong. But when he played for the under-20 in the AFCON and coach trusted him in the center of the park, consistently he produced.
Yeah.
Then came back in the team. After that, second round of the team, he was in the team, but still he didn't cut it out. So he needed a change of scenery, and thank God he got a very good club that can now get the best out of him rather than staying here. And if KCC made a bit of money, for me that is good. For me, I didn't think it was time for Moses Aliro to leave. I remember saying to myself, if I had money, this boy would be in Pro Line right now, because for me he was exciting. Still a youngster, but with a lot of potential, especially playing from line to line. But I think KCC needed solidity there, and that's why they let him go. Like I said earlier on the goalkeeper, I think they had done well on Matovu, but I don't know why they let him go. Kato for me, you know, some players play when coaches give them belief, and that's what Coach Mike gave to Kato. Gave him belief, put him out there, and the boy repaid that belief, confidence the coach had in him. But last season, he lost his confidence. He didn't play well. He had injuries, also destabilized him. And these other fellows around him were developing quickly. Musa Ramadan was astronomical. Of course, Magambo, and with those two and Waswa coming in, Revita recovering from an injury, you have Guma who can do there. I didn't really feel he had the place anymore. So for him, it was the right thing to go find a club somewhere where he'll play so he can learn.
Well, just maybe to tell you, Mujib, the following youngsters were offered loan options by the football club. But you know, as a loan, if I told you that we wanted to loan you, it's about the player saying whether they want or not. And that was Kafumbe Joseph, Moses Aliro, Kato Samuel, and Hassan Matovu. Should be those. And then the players opted, no, they didn't want loan period. They didn't want to get loaned out, and then they offered to mutually terminate their contracts. So that's how many people have had asking why Kato being left to leave the football club and other people. But that was the situation. The club offered to loan the players, and then they rejected the loan offers. And
also the club needed to take a different direction. So for me, the club is doing the right thing to reshape the club and give it a new direction if they want to compete and go back to the continent. So sometimes it is painful to let some of the players go, but it is the right decision, both for the club and for the players. So for me, I think in that sense, when it comes to Kato and some of these young boys, I think it was the right decision.
Well, reshaping, just like Mujib Kasule says, we still have him on the show, and we'll be coming back for the third segment, still talking about the KCCA FC transfer business and something interesting, the KCCA FC squad number challenge. Don't move away. Now, welcome back from that break. We still have Mr. Mujib Kasule on the show, former KCCA FC captain and also CAF coaches, instructor, and one of the greats for KCCA Football Club on the show is the guest. And Mr. Mujib Kasule, we've talked about everything KCCA FC transfer business ahead of 2021-2022 season. Out of the players that have come in, the 11 players and the 2 promoted, who is your most exciting and why?
Geoffrey Waswa. If you want to compete, you must have the ability to go into your competitors and get out one of their best. And that's what KCC has done by going to Vipers. I know he played at Villa for the second round last season, but it's because there was a disagreement back in his mother club. So when you go to Viper and sign one of their regular players, national team and everything, and you bring him right in the middle of your team, for me that's a plus, because it is weakening the opponent and making you stronger.
Yep.
But if you want to win, I see many clubs do, you want to win the league and you leave your competitors alone, then you go out there, you go in Masaza, you go in these relegated clubs or those that are newly promoted, you don't get winners. Waswa has won this trophy that KCCA is trying to fight for. So he understands, he's a national team player. So for me, that was a major coup. I know Villa wanted to sign him, but maybe they couldn't afford him, but KCCA moved in timely and brought him. He is going to walk straight into the team and add value. So for me, that was the most exciting.
Wow, Geoffrey Waswa. Now, Mujib, your best 11, if on the day you had the opportunity to choose the best 11, KCCA FC probably is playing, let me say, Team X, start of the Star Times Uganda Premier League, and let me say all the 32 players are available. Who should be your starting 11 and also the formation?
It is difficult. As a coach, I wouldn't get into this because I don't want to choose a lineup for my fellow coach.
No, that's yours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the good thing, I'm also a fan for this club.
True.
So I'm now going to wear that hat of a fan.
Yes.
I'm looking at a scenario where I have Ochan, Benjamin in goal, then Innocent Wafula as the right back, Majwega as the left back.
Okay.
Then I partner Waswa with Guma. Because of lack of a natural number 4, I partner these two to use the experience to deal with the situation. Then Emmanuel Waswa, assuming everybody is injury free. Emmanuel Waswa as the holding midfielder. In front of him, Yassa and Gift Ali in a 3-man midfield. Then up front, I'm looking forward to seeing Anaku, Aheebwa, and Kasule leading the search for the goals. For me, I think that will be a good lineup, but that's only mine as a fan.
As a fan.
Like I said earlier, the coach is going to choose a lineup from the way the boys are trained. Yes.
So that's a 4-3-3.
Yes, a 4-3-3.
4-3-3. Who is captaining these guys?
I don't know.
You. Your own choice. This is not anything to do with the KCCA FC technical team. This is a fan. Yes.
Gift Ali.
Gift Ali.
Gift Ali, because my understanding with Gift Ali, he has a lot of rapport with all the players. They believe in him. I know his discipline. I can vouch for him, and he's now senior. Most of these other players have just come in, but for me, I think he would be a good leader. Yes, Ochan would be, but he's been away. He's just come back. Gift Ali is ahead of him in terms of knowing the team. Yes.
Wow, that is Mr. Mujib Kasule. He's been able to do that as a fan and also former player of KCCA FC. Nothing to do with the technical team. And this is just a disclaimer. Well, to go to the fan zone, the fans gave their take on the transfer business for KCCA FC ahead of the 2021-2022 season. Here are the fans giving their take.
Manyagange nze Muwanga Ezera okuva ekisoga. Abazanya apya Majwega tumumanyi nnyo, abadde atusambira bulungi ebbanga lyonna tumwaniriza. Wafula muzanyi mulungi mulabi yonna gy'asambye mu Vipers ne mu Mbalala, abadde asamba bulungi. Jofule Waswa bufirikikwe mu bumanyi, asamba bulungi. Betuna Osama Asama Arafat amasazanya atamumutegedde, asambye bulungi omupiira gwe. Brian Kayanja naye mubadde mulaba no MPDF nga asamba omupiira gwe mulungi nnyo. Benjamin Ochan ebikopo yabireeta wano. Osi mupya tumwaniriza tusanyuka okumulaba. Kasule naye tumumanyi. Kale n'omwana maato naye mwana mulungi tumumanyi. So kale abawagizi ba KCCA baagaliza emirembe ogye tubagire kirabu yaffe.
Nze Kironde John ow'ekisoga muwagizi wa KCCA. Njiwagira neera njagala okuva ku ntobo y'omutima gwange. Njagaliza abazanyi abapya abatweyunzeeko mu kilabu yaffe n'abakadde abatwabulidde ogenda mu kilabu endala okukola obulungi gye balaze, naye ate twagala tube ku ntiko twale ku kikopo mu myaka ebiri egiyise gino. Njagala kati kuno abatwegasseeko bali abavuddewo bano bakole ekisinga ku kyabali twale ekikopo.
Well, fantastic views from the fans, and those are their opinions. Well, Mujib, some of the fans coming up to say that they've been pretty much impressed by the KCCA FC transfer business. Some of them saying the club has signed so many players, there's been an exodus, and saying this keeps on happening. Maybe to just explain the exodus. Why do you think this is happening in the Ugandan game? And also, should the club sit back because they have lost players and not signed because it will look like an exodus? Because I'm thinking, when you lose, you've got to replace. What do you have to say?
You have to control the loss of players. That's the most important. The biggest part of your transfer business is to make sure that you retain your players. That's the biggest part. The reason for signing many players is not only with KCC. It's a culture in the Ugandan game, a culture we've inherited from the amateur days, where there is an event where clubs come and release players, announce those that they have released, and then after 3 weeks, they announce those that have come in. It was a marketing gimmick to spice up the league and anticipation in the amateur days. But now it is about business. There is nothing called releasing players. You either sell them, you loan them, you renew their contract, or you sign them. The business of releasing is not good business. But our clubs are now steadily now getting into these professional ways of doing things. So for me, I do not believe in that. However, sometimes it's called for. Even in Europe, once in a while we see it. It happens. For this particular season, for KCCA, they are changing from a different mentality, a different philosophy from the other coach and then they realize the imbalance. When youngsters are left alone, they cannot produce. They cannot produce. That's how it is. People will say, but KCC has always had youngsters and they've done well. Yes, but the years where KCC performed well with youngsters, you could see that Muhammad Kiza is in the team, he's a youngster. Bukenya is in the team, he's a youngster. Alan Okelo is in the team, he's a youngster, and so many others. But alongside them, there was Seron Kuma.
There's Timothy Awani.
There's Timothy Awani.
There's Habib Kavuma.
There is Habib Kavuma. There is Saddam Juma. There is Muzamiru Mutiaba. There is Chirabida. Yeah. So the blend was always good until last season when they were left alone. And they crumbled under the weight. So KCC needed to reshape that, to balance the team. And for me, that explains most of the signings. Then the other issue is that when you have so many good youngsters and you promote all of them at once and it doesn't work out, you have no choice but to let some go. True. So that explains this season is exodus for me. It was a bit technical and circumstantial. But going forward, I think to do good business, 4 or 5 players, and I am happy. I have seen clubs, KCC's competitors, who have done that business. Express went and signed only 4 players. Vipers assigned 2. You see, so that is growth in terms of how we see things. KCC's situation is different this season. They needed to do that to reshape the team and go on and try to recapture the lost double. So for me, that explains the exodus. But overall, it is upon you, the club, to retain your good players. You cannot come and say, we lost, so we had to replace. You control both.
But Mujib, I'll go a little bit different from that. You've been around players for some time. You've been a player before. In a situation whereby KCCA is playing, let me say, CAF, or your players are playing for the national team. A team from the Maghreb region comes and wants a player and probably promise a player, or you're going to earn about 10,000 USD. You as a football club are not even able to probably pay a player 1,000 US dollars. What do you do for this situation? Only that is going to distort a player.
That is not a player you've lost. That is a player you have sold. And that is one of the objectives of the club. So that you sell and you replace. That is part of the business I'm talking about. But when 6 players mutually terminate, there is an issue there. You see. So when you sell, like what they have done, they have sold Lukwago, made money for the club, replaced him with a very good player as well. So that is understandable. That's why I'm saying you control. But once you sell a player, you have not lost him. You have sold him. And that sale has added value to the club. So it has to be approached, the transfer market has to be approached 2 ways. First, the football, and second, the business. In between, loss of players due to this or that, then it's a different issue. But I'm glad that KCC For me, it was a mistake to only have young players challenge. Yeah. They have realized that mistake, now they have corrected it. Unfortunately, it had to come with many going away and many coming in, but they had to correct it. Because KCCA are competitors, they are not like the pro lines of this world, they have to compete. Yeah. So that is what they needed to do first as the management, to tell the coach, okay, this is the new direction, go on and compete, we have balanced the ship, now go on and sail. And that's what I expect them to do. Well,
that's what exactly happened. On the light side of things, our staff that is at KCCA Football Club and some of the fans participated in KCCA FC Squad Number Challenge. Well, this happens every season. If you remember last season, we had also this challenge happen where we ask the players, some of the staff members, and also the fans of KCCA FC to just name the given shirt numbers for the current KCCA FC squad. Remember, they had just been issued out, and some of them were not sure about everything. So, on the light side of things, have a look.
99.
Ochan.
Shirt 26. Shirt 10.
10.
Shirt 5.
Revita.
Shirt 19.
Majwega.
Shirt 35.
We don't have shirt 5.
Shirt 33.
We don't have.
Shirt 5.
Revita.
Shirt 7.
Gifty.
Shirt 6.
Mazengo.
Shirt 29.
Pass.
Shirt 19.
Majwega.
Shirt 17.
Mugume.
Shirt 40.
Anaku.
22.
Woloto.
23.
Bukenya.
20.
20 is Senyojo, 11 is Sigozi.
10.
10 is Mogerua.
92.
92 is not there.
14.
14 is Sadatanaku.
18.
18 is Rwanga.
Well, nice challenge, that one, and thank you very much for everyone that participated in that KCCA FC Squad Number Challenge. So, Mujib, as we wind this up, finally, do you see KCCA FC challenge for the title, or for the Uganda Cup, or for the Startimes Uganda Premier League, that is this season?
Definitely, there will be challenges, and I think all the other clubs are working towards looking at KCC as one of the challenges. They will go for the double, and they have the ability to do it. Wow. They have reorganized the squad. I have no doubt in Coach Mole. I've had some people say he's not a winner. Coach Mole has won before. He has won the Uganda Cup with Victoria University. He's even won the regional Nile Benson Trophy. He ran KCC close when he was at Victoria University, I think the season of 2016-2017.
It was on the last day.
The last day.
Yeah.
So he's a winner, he's a competitor. See what he has done in the Africa Cup of Nations under 20. So he's a winner, he has the mentality, and he has won. So I think he will do that. He's going for winning squad, and that's why he has assembled it. He knows exactly what he has assembled, and that for me is going to give KCC a very good advantage in the challenge for the two trophies.
Wow, Mujib, as we wind this up, what was your shirt number when you were still playing?
7.
7. Oh, currently done by one of your favorites, Gift Ali Abubakar. So, Mr. Mujib Kasule, straight in that camera, as we wind this up, your parting shots, and yeah.
I think as football is about to resume, we're all excited. As a former player for the club, nowhere near the greats of this club, but I'm a former player and a former fan, still a fan for the club. We are hoping that everybody at the club gives the backing for this team and for the coaching team. Sometimes we will need patience, but our job is to support what has been assembled. I think the management has done a great job in redirecting. The coaching staff has gotten it right for me in the transfer window. So now it's time to support and let the Kasasuru boys get back to where they belong.
Well, fantastic debut for Mr. Mujib Kasule. Just like I told you, CAF coaches instructor, former KCCFC captain, used to don shirt number 7, currently donned by Gift Ali, and also I will call him one of the greats for KCCFC Football Club. If you knew what this man was or is to KCCFC, well, maybe one day we'll return on the KCCFC TV show and tell you his story, probably him back on this kind of set to tell you who exactly he is to KCCFC. Guys, it's been a plethora of stuff on the show discussed tonight, mainly talking the KCCFC transfer business. Kudos to Mr. Mujib Kasule, and we'll be back next week with another interesting episode of everything KCCA Football Club. My name is Magero Moses Mwanje. Have a good night.